In this video, I'm going to tell you how to make more money and do less work, right? How to win at corporate jobs, because it's not all about working hard. Now, I'm going to go through specific sections of my ebook. It's completely free. There's a link in description. If you just click the link in description and you scroll down, you'll see this 48 Laws of Career Power. You click the link here, you'll have this web page and you can get the free ebook and get to reading it, and I'll go through it in this video. It's all strategies that work for me quite effectively through 10 years or more than 10 years at top investment banks like Goldman and Morgan Stanley, and getting successful job interviews at these companies you can see here, everything from JP Morgan to Deloitte and hedge funds like Arrowgrass. So if we go back to the book, how does it work? So again, it's a free book and it goes through 48 laws of career power, similar to 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. 48 lessons you can learn to benefit your career. And I have a very helpful reference guide here, which goes through specific aspects of developing your career. And the way it works specifically is I help you increase your influence to maximize your success through specific laws. So depending on your scenario, you can use this book however you see fit, right? I've split up the laws into specific career issues. Now, if you're at work and people are overlooking you, they're thinking you're someone they just can devalue and demote and speak to disrespectfully, you want to defend yourself, be more confident and assertive at work, I help you increase your influence to maximize your success by these specific laws, right? To increase your influence, outmaneuver rivals, and stay in control and be 10 steps ahead of your competition. So if we go through some of these laws, let's see how this can actually help you. Now, law 22 is about transforming weakness into strength, right? Everyone has a weakness, but the strong ones learn how to flip it into a strength. If you're an introvert and you're quiet, maybe you're good at having analytical skills. If you lack experience, maybe you have more energy so you can do more work even if you have less experience. And then the lesson comes down to stop hiding your flaws, right? If you have any weaknesses over time, you can turn them into strengths. An example of this would be you're new to a department. Instead of pretending you know everything, what you do instead is you ask lots of questions, you identify any inefficiencies, anything you can help improve, and how you can improve systems that people might have missed and improve issues that other people might not know about. So your manager will respect your enthusiasm and your eagerness to learn because you're really observing how to improve processes. Now, there's certain cases where you might want to break the law and not follow this particular piece of advice. So just to explain how it works, for each law, each piece of advice, I focus on why you should follow it and give an example, as you can see here, and then I follow up with breaking this law, like a reversal, like certain cases you might want to do the opposite. Now, some cases, if your weaknesses could be weaponized by toxic co-workers, you might want to stay quiet about that, improve quietly, and reveal your skill level later. For example, let's just say you're very good at your analytical skills, but your communication skills are quite lacking. You might get nervous in group presentations. In that case, you might want to essentially improve that quietly on the side, whether it's doing a course yourself, doing some personal speech therapy lessons, things like that, rather than mentioning it at work. And then people will use that as leverage of how they're better than you, right? Talking down to you, taking little cheap shots. So sometimes you might not want to talk about your weaknesses at work or address them in a direct way at work. Just work on them quietly until you can improve your situation and then apply that new skill in the workplace. Now, there's certain other laws to consider here, right? So let's talk about think as you like, but behave like others. Now, many people will go to work and they will not understand the social dynamics, right? People are like sheep. There's a reason why we have the term NPCs or normies, because people just follow the crowd, right? They all watch the same TV shows, listen to the same music artists, have the same political opinions, and they're always looking for approval or validation to others before they make a decision. Now, I'll word this next part carefully, but I remember the medical procedure that everyone was told they have to get a few years ago, around 2020 and onwards. I realized a lot of people who got their medical procedure in their arm, as you know what I'm talking about, what they didn't pick on it because of the science, because the medicine, because they thought it was the best thing to do. They were doing it because other people were. Well, everyone else is getting that medical procedure, the injection in the arm, so I will do the same thing. And that's when you realize people are really sheep. They can't think for themselves. They're so worried about not fitting in. They're worried about not being popular, not being part of the in-group. That's why they make the decisions they make. So when you're at work, right, people are always going to have the most politically correct, safe opinion or play along with it, right? And that's why you need to think as you like, but behave like others. So keep your real thoughts private, blend in at the surface level, especially in corporate settings. People fear what they don't understand. Cancel culture and scapegoating is typical if you have different opinions from what's normalized in the culture. Don't give them a reason to target you just because you're different. Now, an example could be you'll disagree with your team's groupthink, but play along, and you quietly build an alternative that creates wins later. So say people are going in the wrong direction on a project and you have a backup plan that you're going to work on for yourself. It could be maybe a separate project, maybe a bit of analysis you do because you can see the direction things are heading in with everyone having a consensus opinion and then pretending to agree with each other is the wrong way. And when that roadblock happens, you'll have a solution ready, maybe a few notes you've put together of how to address that roadblock if people are ignoring you today when you suggest a solution, right? Now, the other thing is when it's important to break the law, right? For example, if you're in a culture that is a startup, they support radical ideas and different type of open-minded ideas and different solutions that are outside the box, then they might be more open to you having different opinions, right? In that case, you might want to show your edge and test out things, different solutions to find results. And that's when they have a flat company structure, and a flat structure in the corporate environment means that basically they value junior employees and their ideas the same way they value mid-level or mid-senior type of management roles, right? Some banks like Goldman Sachs, they say they have a flat structure, which in some cases they do. When I worked there, where some junior employees would get, in a sense, some recognition and suggestions and valued input and an opportunity to speak with senior management to suggest ideas that maybe that wouldn't happen at other companies unless you're more senior in a company, right? So just be aware of the type of structure you're in and when you are in an environment that is open-minded to ideas and when you're not. Now, moving on to Law 39. So Law 39 is about stirring up waters to catch fish. Now, this can help you by understanding what's going on around you, right? Are people emotional about a work project? Are they making mistakes? How can you push buttons, trigger reactions? How can you get work done by essentially controlling people's emotions? Now, it sounds a bit manipulative, a bit like M. Bison in Street Fighter, but having this kind of psycho power of understanding what's going on around you is that's why you want to sit back and observe and stay calm and in control, right? There are many examples of this. Maybe someone's trying to sabotage your idea and you rally other employees to be on your side. You could maybe calmly ask a few loaded questions in a meeting to expose their flawed ideas so they lose composure and leadership takes notice that they're kind of undermine you or being manipulative. You might want to break the law, right? Maybe a person's a loose cannon, they're over emotional and could escalate things dangerously. In that case, you might want to maintain distance from them and let them self-destruct. This kind of links to a law from the Art of War by Sun Tzu, which is talking about never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. So sometimes you can trigger someone or ask them a simple question, like a technical question in a meeting in front of senior management, and then they make a mistake or reveal they don't know what they're talking about. And then that's a sense of letting them make a mistake in front of other people. Now, I've dealt with that a few times. Sometimes I did it unintentionally, like I asked someone who's slightly more senior than me, one level above me or two levels above, and I asked them a technical question and they don't know the answer, or I know the answer and I'm asking them for their perspective and they don't know how to respond. These are the type of things that happen time and time again, whereby you can expose people by simply asking questions in an open forum and being strategic with that. Like, do they know? What don't they know? Are they really overplaying their hand here? This is how you can really kind of leverage and position of power. It is a bit risky. It does depend on the scenario, but you can do this. Now, if you move on to Law 40 actually, right? So despise the free lunch, right? Free often means cheap, and cheap doesn't command respect. So what do we mean by that? So sometimes people say, oh, I'll help you out, I'll do extra work for you. In return, they'll help you. Many times there'll be a disagreement there, right? So be careful about doing favors for favors. Like, are they really going to help? If you're helping them, are they going to help you? Be careful around this, right? Because many people are just, you'll see, have so much scumbag behavior at work that people get away with so much in the office, they wouldn't get away with you in their personal life, right? Someone might insult you, make a cheap shot at you in the office, they won't get away with it outside the office, right? People will use underhanded tactics to do the least amount of work and dump work on you. I remember one instance where I was preparing training for about 30 sales and trading assistants training, and it was me and a co-worker who was part of the broader team working on it, and he kind of do anything and I ended up doing the whole thing. Like, a project, preparing all the material for the presentation, leading the training. He arrived late to many of the trainings that we had to lead together. So it's like he's arriving late to his own training presentation to train these people. So it was just ridiculous. And that type of thing happened again and again, where I realized, like, I have to be selective of what work I'm doing, how much extra work I'm doing. When we have to do policy updates, so there were 1 or 2 years where I did a lot of extra work on it, and then I realized, well, I'm not getting recognition for this. Senior management isn't seeing this. So I just did the bare minimum the year after, 1 or 2 years helping other team members do their work. So these are the type of things you got to be aware of what you're doing here, right? If you're helping people, are they helping you? If they're not, then just take a step back and avoid getting involved with them. Now, Law 41, avoid stepping into a great man's shoes, right? Don't follow directly in the footsteps of other employees who might have been the office favorite. Now, the way this works is sometimes you're joining a company and the person who used to do your role was very famous, very popular in the office, right? And you're going to take a different approach to work, right? So you don't want to be someone who's seen as, oh, you're trying to be a mimic, imitation or cheap imitation of the last person who did the role. You want to be someone who's doing something unique in your way. Of course, the company has its policies, procedures. You're going to have to do something generally in a generic way that fits their needs, but don't be in a position where, like, oh, they're going to say, oh, well, the last guy who did it this way, well, you're the new guy. You're not like a copy and paste of the last guy. So just be careful of that. You're going to have your own personal brand in the office, your own way of conducting yourself and speaking, right? So if you're replacing another employee who's known for their people skills and you might be more on the quiet side, just adapt the work style that works so it works for you. So you get the work done at a good level without feeling like you have to be someone who's fake. Now, the other thing is Law 43, which we have 44, which we have right here, right? So disarm with a mirror effect. Now, people are disarmed when they can see their own behavior reflected back at them, right? So sometimes when you're dealing with people, I realize that this is very often used in sales. It's used in marketing tactics where you try to empathize with them, right? If someone speaks very directly and clearly and cleanly, you want to do the same too. If someone likes to start meetings and they want to be a bit more generic, they want to be a bit more informal and have a bit more small talk, you might want to participate in a bit of that. The whole thing is about getting people to lower their guard. Sometimes it's having a similar interest, it's matching their tone and their energy, aligning with their logic. If they're speaking in very straightforward terms, you do that. So it's all about kind of people to build a rapport. Now, we all do that in our social life. If you're going on a date with some woman and things like that, you might want to be able to do this type of skill too, right? So sometimes in an example here, a difficult manager likes blunt communication. You stop speaking softly and indirectly. You speak very directly like they do. So that's an important thing to consider. And yeah, it's a very important law. You can apply it in different ways. And the final law is changing the game gradually, right? You never want to be at work like a radical, like you'll change all the procedures. You're going to change how everything's done. Companies are very rigid. They're slow to change. Everything goes through a massive level of approval levels to change one small thing in a process. So if you want to change something or do something more effectively, it's normally about getting approval internally, changing things slowly so they work in your benefit, right? And it depends what the situation is. Changing the game gradually, just understand how slow corporations are. They're very stuck in their ways. We don't have these fast, dynamic startups that you see or you might have seen in the early days of any company, like of an Amazon, of a Google. Now they're slow moving companies, probably with Facebook too when they started. Very quick moving, people coming up with new ideas, quick solutions. When you're working for a big mega corporation, it's like, okay, we have this process, we refine the process for every year, several decades, so we're going to stick with it. So just if you're going to make any change, do it gradually, right? And the gradual suggestion here applies to everything, right? If you're going to be quiet quitting and dropping your work ethic until you get a layoff package and can leave the company, slowly drop your level until it's not obvious. You don't go from one day arriving early, leaving late to do extra work to the next day just arriving a bit late and leaving a bit early. No, you count like minutes, 10 minutes, coming in a bit later than normal, leaving 5-10 minutes earlier than you used to. You start doing work or replying to an email a few hours later than you normally did, then 1 day later, then 2 days later. You slowly change things, right? It's all about slow changes, right? The same thing, and bear in mind, they use the same type of strategies with you, right? If they want to push you out of company, they slowly stop putting you on emails of new projects. They start slowly giving your work to other co-workers. And you start slowly getting out from attending certain meetings and certain discussions. That's how they do it. So these are all strategies they use with you, right? So We have the whole book completely free, link in description. You can click through that and get the help that you're looking for and give you ideas for your solution. Now, there's many ways of using this book. You can flick through it at any time, but the way I'd suggest is that you're dealing with a difficult situation at work. You're not sure how to deal with it. You check this book, you go to the reference guide and you go like, okay, well, how do I play the long game and build a long-standing career? These are some laws that can help me. I'm dealing with difficult co-workers. Then you go through and check these laws and think, okay, do I need to build some allies by being honest and generous with some employees? Do I need to be a friend to some of those? How can I be unpredictable so they can't constantly in a meeting? I need to build a specific area of expertise so they're dependent on me, right? How can I get others to do the work? Do I need to delegate the work while I focus on finding another job? What's going on here? These are all things that they're really secrets that work for me over 10 years, getting promoted at all these levels, right? Goldman's, Morgan Stanley, HSBC, and working at all those levels. But the real way I can help you is through career coaching, because these will be tailor-made solutions for you to help you take control of your career and build power, pay, and freedom, right? Career coaching is really the solution to find what you're looking for, because many people are in difficult positions in their career. They're feeling stuck, they're feeling like they can't move forward, and this is how I can mainly help you. So link in description if you want to speak with me directly. We can get started that way. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the 48 laws of career power, as I've covered here. I'm sure you've had to use many of these different rules yourself. And 2 recommended videos on the screen right now. I'll see you next time.